can I just start off by saying that I have been so extremely exhausted these last 2 days, and I have no idea why. I just feel completely drained, and all I want to do is be in the bed and sleep. So that's made it very difficult to be productive and get things done. But needless to say, we are here now, and it is 8 o'clock at night. But no matter what time it is, we're gonna go ahead and get this reading wrap up done. Check it off the list so I can feel better about life. How are you guys doing today? Thank you so much for being here. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Shelby, and we're going to get into my July reading wrap up. The fact that it's July, or I should say the fact that July has come and passed, I don't know. Time is just moving too fast for me. But I have read, I think, a total of 10 books this month. Most of them were on the Kindle. Some I also listened to as audiobooks, but I do have three of the ones that I read here physically. So I think we'll just go ahead and start with those first. But I also need to pull up my Goodreads. This way I can be sure to give you guys my ratings for them. Why I use Goodreads still, I have no idea. If you're wondering that, I cannot answer that for you. So, anywho, we will start off with what I have here at the top, which was one of the last books that I read this month, actually. And it was a book that I'd seen in a recommendations video from Devney. And I decided, you know what, it sounded good. Both Anthony and I were intrigued about it. Picked it up at the bookstore, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. And that is The Book of Doors. And this is by Gareth Brown. This book was a 3 stars for me. It follows our main character, Cassie, I believe is her name, and she's a young lady working in this bookstore, and there's a older gentleman that comes in one evening that she sees from time to time, and something tragic ends up happening, but he leaves her this book of doors, and we kind of follow her on this adventure of where this book takes her, what this book can do, and so much more. This had more of not just a magical element, of course, but this one also had a lot of mystery and suspense behind it as well, more so than I was expecting. So this one was quite a surprise. I said it's a 3-star on Goodreads, but I think that technically I would give this one a 3.5 stars. So I really enjoyed this book. If you're looking for something that's a little bit different, something that has some magical realism in it, some adventure, being able to travel to different areas or different places around the world, this is definitely a good one to pick up. Definitely did not expect what this book was going to give, especially not knowing too much about it. So, highly recommend this book. This next book I have, guys, I have The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. All I have to say is I had been putting off picking up one of her books for quite some time. She has been an author that has been on my mind for, I would say, at least a year now. And this has been the one that I've been wanting to pick up the most because this is the one that I see pretty much all the time. And I was very nervous to pick it up. But overall, I gave this book a 6-star rating because I absolutely devoured this book, loved this book, got my heart broken by this book. I can't say enough about this book and the journey that I went on. If you guys want to see that journey, stay on the lookout because I do have a reading vlog that'll be coming out for this in a couple of weeks. I don't know what day it's going to come out, but it's already filmed and edited, so you can look forward to that if you want to see it and see my live reaction to this book. I don't want to give too much away, but if you are wanting to know a little bit more about this is a historical fiction, and it essentially follows 2 sisters. Isabel and Vienne, I believe, is the older sister's name, and it takes place during World War II in France. More specifically, Paris is where we see most of the story, but we kind of take a journey throughout different areas in Europe and France throughout this book. But Guys, this book was so intense, so emotional, and heartbreaking, and just beautiful overall. And one thing that I do vividly remember about this book was, even though it was so intense and so emotional and something that shouldn't be a book where you fly through, I would say, like, this was a book that I did want to take my time with and really savor and understand what was happening. But even though I had full hopes of not just flying through this book, I read this book, I think, in like a day, or not a day, 2 days, technically 3, although I started at 11 o'clock at night, so I don't really count the first day, but, so technically 3 days, I guess, but, this is almost a 600-page book, and I flew through it. And the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, for some reason, there was something about this book and Kristin Hannah's writing that I just couldn't put down. Even when I took breaks, I would find myself maybe 20 minutes later gravitating to go pick up the book again, because I just wanted to know more about what was going to happen, and more about where the sisters were, what was going to take place with them. And yeah, I don't know. It was definitely such a good book, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil it. I have a tendency to overshare sometimes, so I always try to be cautious of sharing too much. But what I will say is, definitely this is a book you want to read, but you want to read this with caution. You want to make sure that you are mentally prepared and ready as best as you can to get into this book, but you will not regret reading it whatsoever. You will not. And now I'm obsessed with Kristin Hannah's writing, and as you can see here on my shelf, if you can see this very well, we're going to get into the next one. Yes, The Women is next. Also, if you haven't noticed, there has been a little bit of an evolution here in the Reading Nook. I did do a redo of the bookshelves, and we have some other shelves up here. Now all I have to do is get the chair. I'm still using the little cushion from the couch, or one of the parts of the couch. So there is that. Okay. Anywho, you will see the redoing of the bookshelf, whatever type of vlog that is going to be, because I need to edit that video, but that is coming as well. And the next book that I have here is going to be the Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. This is my 3rd Katherine Center book, I believe. I read The Bodyguard, and then I read, why do I always forget what it is? Beautiful something, or something like that. Anyways, I read those and they were really good, and I wanted to see what this one was about. I've had this one on my shelf for quite some time, and the cover is just beautiful and makes me really happy. Sunshine, daisies, just beautiful things. So finally picked this one up, and this one was a cute little read, let me tell you. I had to do a bit of multitasking, as you do when you've got multiple things going on at the same time. I was preparing some pasta because even though it is late, I haven't eaten dinner yet, and I just couldn't muster up the energy to get out of bed. And so Anthony was kind enough to put on a pot of water and stuff, so it's done. And I wanted to get myself some water, so I have no idea what I was saying last. And this is why multitasking is not good. But like I had mentioned, I did pick up the Rom-Commers, and this one was a cute book. I don't remember what I rated it. I want to say it was a 3 stars. No, it was a 4 stars. This one, from what I remember, was a very sweet romance. The only thing I just really can't get with is like the 3rd act breakup kind of scenario. This one didn't quite have a 3rd act breakup because they weren't, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but it did have conflict where I was just kind of like, why does it have to happen? All we have to do is just communicate. If we just communicated everything would be good. But other than that, I loved the book. So I think if that hadn't happened, it probably would have been more closer to a 5-star read. But it follows our two characters, which I can't remember their names. But the woman is like a screenwriter, and she's not doing that great in the industry. And the gentleman or the man, in the love interest, he is the, like, I don't know, the man to be, I guess. Like, this is who you want to work with. She's dreamed of working with, she's pretty much obsessed with him, essentially. But it's very cute. Basically, her childhood friend from high school, who is also her boyfriend, who is not her boyfriend anymore, of course, is also in that industry. I think he's like her agent or something like that. And he's like, hey, I got this really great opportunity for you, and you're going to get to work with said love interest, and we're going to fly you out to California. She goes out to California. He has no idea what's going on, and the story goes from there. It's very nice because it's set in California, so this just really felt like a really nice summer read. It's also very quick and easy. And then there is a little bit of some backstory when it comes to her family life and his as well. So, I don't know. I think overall, this is a very well-rounded book, and I enjoyed it. It gave me a little bit of everything that I needed, and I had a good time. Katherine Center's books are always pretty much a good time for me. I haven't read one yet that I was just like, The Bodyguard, I think, was the closest one where I was like, what is going on? Because nearing the end of that book, I was like,
what is happening? This can't be real. This has to be fake, but I don't see how it could be fake.
I was definitely having one of those moments. But anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the books that I read this month. And then I think I'm going to do something a little bit different than I normally do. I think I'll put my August hopefuls up so that you guys will know what those are as well. I don't do a TBR because I can't commit to a TBR. I just simply cannot. I'm a mood reader through and through, and if I'm not in the mood for the book, there's just no way I'm going to pick it up. I don't know how anyone can plan out what they're going to read. If you're one of those people, can you please let me know how that works? Because I just simply don't understand it. I just don't. So the next book that I read was our buddy read pick for the month with my friend Jessica, and that was the Romance Rivalry by Suzanne Lee, which I'll pop up here so you guys can see. The cover is super, super cute, and I actually really need to buy this book. I went to Barnes & Noble's hunting for it, and they just didn't have it there, so I think I'm going to have to order it online. But yeah, I ended up really enjoying this book. This one I gave a 4 star, so the month was pretty good. The month was treating me pretty good by this point. But yeah, I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. This one has kind of a past-present timeline in a sense. Like the beginning half of the book, we kind of go into the past and then we go back into present time. So we pick things up where they're in high school, and then we end up where they're in college, and essentially we are following the two characters that you see on the cover. I don't remember their names. I'm so terrible at that. If you don't know that about me by now, you're gonna learn that here very quickly. But what I do know is that they are both like, they essentially do what you see me doing right now, where they review books, and they are both pretty well known for reviewing books, and they have this rivalry going on because our female main character has honestly put her life into this. She feels like she is kind of like the outcast in her family. She doesn't feel like she has anything special about her, and that's been really hard for her, but this is one thing that she really prides herself in and does a really good job at, but she has not been doing the best at it as of late. And then we have our male main character on the other hand, who kind of, they don't have the best relationship to begin with, but he is like the best, and she's kind of over here like, you're such a jerk, like how can you be so good at doing these reviews, like this isn't fair, and like they're kind of in a competition with one another, and we just follow that journey and follow like the relationship and how it evolves over time. And I just thought it was such a cute, sweet little read. So if you're looking for something that is also easy and fast-paced, that one I definitely recommend. Then I read another Annabel Monaghan book. This is my second book by her, and I will say, not my favorite, but this was same time next summer, and I had been really wanting to read this book. This book was the first book I had ever heard of Annabel Monaghan, and it had the tropes that I am just a sucker for, which is kind of like a second chance romance, friends to lovers kind of situation, and I love those tropes. I cannot express it enough. I love those tropes so much. But this one I ended up giving a 3 stars. Now, that's not a bad rating whatsoever, of course, but I think I had higher hopes for this book. This one basically kind of gave me the same, I was expecting kind of the same feels as Love in Other Words, but it just didn't hit the mark. But we basically follow our 2 characters, and our female main character goes back to this house that she's grown up in over the course of her life, essentially, and it's kind of like a summer house of sorts. And when she was growing up, there was, a boy that lived there, and that is our male main character, and she is back, and she hasn't been back in a long time, and they end up running into each other and unpacking history and all that great stuff that tends to happen in second chance romances. And I don't know, this one I think just didn't hit for me because it started to get to a point where I was like, I felt like there was a lot going on, and the conflict that was in the story just didn't, I don't know, I didn't really resonate with it. It was actually, once it was revealed, I found it quite hard to feel a connection, I guess, with the characters, because to me it just felt, not that it's not believable, because I know that stuff can definitely happen, and I'm sure has happened, but it just, I don't know, I just didn't really care for it. So for whatever reason, it didn't connect for me, and I just didn't love it as much as I hoped that I did. Although I did read it really fast. I read it, I think, in a day and a half or something like that. Her books are super easy to get through and to read, and they tend to be on the smaller side. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit more fast-paced, or something that's really easy to read and get through, this one I would definitely recommend as a beach read. When I think of beach reads, I think of reads that are super easy to follow along. They don't take a lot of brain power. You can just kind of follow the words on the page and get lost in the story, and they're quick, short, and easy. So her books, I would definitely say, are really good for that. The next book that I read, I actually saw Kalila talk about this book, and I don't know if she's read it yet or not, but this one was really good, actually, by Monica Heisey. I don't know how to pronounce the name, I'm so sorry, but this book was actually really, really interesting to read. It was more of a contemporary fiction type of read, and I'm not huge on those, but I find myself sometimes kind of needing them as palate cleansers, depending on what I have been reading more of, especially if I've been reading a lot of romance or a lot of thrillers or anything like that. Sometimes you just kind of need a little palate cleanser, and those are always really good for me personally. So I ended up reading that. I gave this one a 3 stars, and it basically follows our main character, who is in quite a place in her life where she kind of feels like she's falling apart a little bit. She's going through a divorce, and it's also a journey of kind of finding yourself and being able to stand up on your own 2 feet and realizing life doesn't stop just because things change. So I liked it. It was a good book. It was took me a little while to read this one. I will say I did put it down quite a few times, but once I ended up picking it back up again, I was able to get through it. So take that with as you will, but yeah, that was a good read. Would I read it again? Probably. Actually, I probably would. Next book on my list is, I saw this one on Kindle Unlimited, and I was for some reason I'm really intrigued by the title and also the cover, so I'm gonna read it. And this was All Superheroes Need PR, and this is by Elizabeth Steffens. I gave this one a 3 stars. I honestly thought this was going to be a 4.5 star book for me, and then it didn't happen. It follows our main character, who is essentially like top-notch PR agent. Like, she is good at what she does, and she may not be the greatest at a lot of other things, but she is good at doing PR. And we are kind of in this weird fantasy world where it's like superheroes exist, so I thought that was kind of fun to read about. And we have our superheroes and our villains, and she basically becomes the PR person for a villain. And he is trying to kind of change up his image and things like that, but his catch is that she needs to date him. So it was an interesting read. I had a good time with it. At first, like I said, I was loving it and I was eating it up, and then it got really heavy on the spice, which there is nothing wrong with spice in a book. I don't think. I'm not someone that's gonna be like, ew, like, why is there like spice in this book? There should never be spice in this book. Like, I don't think that way at all, but like, I also feel like there's a time and a place, and like, if you're gonna add that in the book, there should be, for me, there should be something more than it just being spice. That's not everyone's cup of tea, of course. Like, if you're into that, you're into that, but like, I just personally would rather it be a part of the development of the story, or like taking us somewhere else. But this is not necessarily that, and it was very descriptive, so I just got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna need to skip over some of these. But overall, if it wasn't for that, I did enjoy the book, but that really did throw me off. I don't know why. It's like, especially when it feels like it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, you always know when it's coming, but like, it just feels like all of a sudden, like, now we're here and that's all we're doing. Like, we weren't talking or doing any of that at the first half of the book, and now the last half, that's like every other page is what's on the page, and I'm like, well, what happened to the rest of the story? But anyways, that was that. I would say it's a cute book if you want to check it out, but just be aware, if you are not someone that's big into spice, you may not like this one. It is very heavy on the spice. The next book I read, which has been on my TBR for the longest. I said I don't really create TBRs, but like, you always have like books that you want to read, and this one has been on my book for the longest, and that is Sandwich by Katherine Newman. This one was another really great summer read. It takes place in Cape Cod, I believe. I think it's Cape Cod. And I thought it was just so sweet and endearing and heartfelt, and just it was a beautiful story. But it basically follows this woman who is in her, like, I want to say maybe 50s or so, and she is experiencing some changes in her life. She's going through menopause, which is really heavily talked about in the book. It also deals with things with family, deals with loss, so like miscarriages and losing family members. And it also kind of just shows, like, I guess, the cycle of life in a way, where you are looking back on your life, thinking like about when you, let's say you had your first child or something like that, and now you're here in present day and you're seeing that child is grown and they are living their own life and starting their own family. And like, I don't know, it just was really sweet how it kind of all circled back to things like that, and being able to reminisce and just seeing how quickly life changes and how quickly life goes. But I had a very, very good time reading this book. It was very easy to read and very quick, and I would definitely recommend picking this one up. And like I said, it does take place, I think, in Cape Cod, because it does take place during the summertime. They tend to take this family vacation every year. They always have like the same house, and it's something that they kind of look forward to. Even though the house seems to be a little bit run down at this point, there is definitely a scene in the beginning that I was like, oh my god, like, I shouldn't be just this like grossed out and disturbed by this, but like I'm grossed out because this is not a fun situation. But overall, I just had a really good time reading this book. So if you've been wondering or wanting to read it, I would definitely say it's 100% worth reading, and it's made me want to venture out and explore other beach towns and things like that, because Cape Cod just seems so picturesque. Okay, so then the next book that I read was Crossroads, and this is by Devney Perry, which is the author of Shield of Sparrows, I believe. This is what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to say duology, but like it's a 2-part kind of book. There's a companion novel. That's the word I'm looking for. Companion. There is a companion novel that goes with this one as well. You don't have to read it to read this book, but if you're going to read the next book, I would recommend reading this one. Anyways, long story made short, Crossroads, I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. It was kind of more like a Western, almost kind of like a cowboy romance, that takes place in Montana, I believe. And this book is more of like the second chance romance type of storyline, or friends to lovers, which I ate that thing up, and it was cute. It was a good time, but I did have moments where I felt like I was getting a little bit bored with the story. There was a part in the story though that I was really saddened by, because our female main character is dealing with some hard things, and when that comes to a head, I feel for her. It's definitely sad, but overall I did enjoy this book. And then of course I ended up reading the next book, or the companion novel, which is I think Sunlight. And that one I also gave it 3 stars. This one follows the younger brother from the first book, and it's his story essentially, and so it's kind of the same situation. It's taking place in the same place. You see a lot of returning characters, but this one is not like a second chance romance. This is more like a workplace romance kind of situation, where they hire someone new. He runs into her into the store, at like a grocery store or something like that, and kind of like tries to hit it off with her. And when she realizes who she is, she's like, I gotta go. That's my boss. Can't do this. And she's also dealing with something pretty tough as well that we also uncover. Overall, these books were good, but they just wouldn't be something that I would probably read again. But they were good books. Okay, I've got 2 more books here, and then we're going to start to wrap it up. The next one is going to be An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This one was a 3 stars. This is a series, I guess, and it's called like the Carls series, because there are these like weird space like alien things that have, or they, at least we assume it's from space, that have now appeared on Earth all over the place, and they call them the Carls. And we follow our main character as she is trying to uncover why the Carls are here, where they came from, how they showed up. And she is becoming extremely social media famous for her discovering the Carls and trying to uncover why they're here, which is just a really fun journey, and it does leave on quite a cliffhanger. So if you do pick up this book, you're probably going to want to read the next book, because we don't really know what happens to our main character at the end of this one. So it is definitely something that now I'm like, I need to probably pick up the second book here pretty soon, but got some books I already want to read, so let's see. But yeah, overall, really good book, fun. This one was another book that I was watching, I believe, Khalila's video, one of her videos, and she was talking about this book, and I was like, that sounds so fun and interesting. I don't really read sci-fi like fiction or anything like that very often, so I was like, I'm gonna check it out, and I'm glad that I did. It was fun. I said that I had 2 more, but I just realized that book I'm not going to talk about in this video, because that is for this month's wrap up when this month ends. So I won't talk about that one. But what I will do now is I'll talk about my August hopefuls. I have about 6 books here that I would like to read as my August hopefuls. One I'm actually currently reading right now, which is The Wedding People. What is her name? Alison Espach? I don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm so sorry. I'm so terrible with names. This one is actually a shocking book to me right now because I am, like I said, currently reading it. I won't go too deep into it, but it basically follows our female main character, and she's going through a divorce right now in her life, essentially, and she decides she's going to go to, I think it's Rhode Island? Some island, and she's gonna go to this hotel that she's been wanting to go to, and they're having a wedding, and so she basically is there while this wedding is taking place. There's a lot of deep things that are happening, so I haven't uncovered everything, and nor will I spoil it here, but so far I'm liking it. Been wanting to read that book for a long time though. Of course, you did also see that I have Kristin Hannah's The Women on my shelf, so that is another hopeful. It's probably going to happen like here in a few days. To be honest with you, I don't know how much longer I'm going to hold off on reading it. So that is another book that I want to read this month. And then I want to read as many, like, I don't know, summery books as I can. So this one definitely gives me summer vibes just from the cover. It's called Main Characters, and this is by Hannah Ornstein. I don't really know a whole lot about this book. I'm assuming it's a play on words because it says main character, like Maine, the place, but like characters as in like main characters in a story. So I'm assuming it's a play on words. I don't know honestly anything about it, but I've been really intrigued just by the cover. So I would like to pick this one up this month. And then, of course, I don't know what's taking me so long to pick this book up. I think there's just been too many books that I've wanted to read. And I've just not prioritized it. But I also want to read Frederick Bachman's My Friends. So that I'm hoping to get to here pretty soon, but I don't know, we'll see. Obviously I'm hoping to get to all of these because it's my August hopefuls, but I don't know if I'll get to all of them because I'm a mood reader, and there will become a point in time where I will prefer one book over the other. My next book is a Riley Sager book. I tend to really always want to pick up his books. They're not always my favorite. Sometimes they're a hit or a miss, but this one just sounded really interesting. So I wanted to pick this one up. This one is called With Vengeance. I don't remember a whole lot from what I read, at least a little bit of what I read from the synopsis, but I believe it centers around like our main character who has had something happen to them or their family, and now they are seeking vengeance for what has taken place. And then the last book is my book of the month pick, which is The Seduction Theory. This one is by Emily Andrin, and I am really looking forward to it. You can't see it because it's back here somewhere. I'll grab it here. But this is it. It's actually quite a teeny tiny book. It's not even 300 pages. So I'm excited to read this one. It basically follows 2 professors, I believe, and there's some kind of weird stuff happening between the woman professor and her student, and I think something happening with her. Thought I could finish that before my battery died, but alas I could not. But yeah, it basically just follows like 2 professors, and there's some weird stuff that essentially goes down. So I'm looking to see what that one is all about, and it's a very short read, so I might have to read that one here actually pretty soon. I have one other book of the month book that I haven't actually gotten a chance to read yet, which is Bombshell. So we'll see if I read that one anytime soon. But yeah, that is it. Those are all the books that I hope to read in August. And then those were all the books that I read in July. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye. Did you subscribe yet? Subscribe. Let's be friends.